and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk today at your cultural conference. I come from the technology side, so I'm going to talk to you what in DG Connect, which was the former Information Society DG, how we are working for the benefit of culture and for the creative industries through technology. So all what I'm going to be talking today is about how technology can help the sectors in doing new things, in creating growth, and in being more present in our society. So as our Commissioner, Mrs. Neelie Kroes, put it, the internet and the new technology bring a revolution in how people create, distribute, and enjoy culture. So what was said today about Heritage 3.0, I'm not going to talk of anything else than Heritage 3.0. So it's all about how we can use the new technologies in our hand to become better and more innovative. So give me examples. I mean, this is coming from one of our research projects. You go to the Acropole Museum and you saw statues. Now you will be able to go with your iPad and through augmented reality, and you will have possibilities of storytelling. So if you are a boy, you will have your story. If you are a researcher, you will have your story. If you are a tourist, you will have your story. You will be able to enjoy culture in a completely different way. That sculpture that you see there you will be able to see it how it was if it's just a piece 2,000 years ago. So you will have a really new opportunity of experiences and enjoying culture. This is a wonderful project from the Mogdad Grottos in China, which won the 1,000 Buddhas. You will not be able to go there, but through this project, which is based, by the way, it has been done through 360 vision and panoramic technologies by University of Hong Kong, you will be able to have an immersive experience as you would not be able to have anywhere else. So you will have the opportunity to really live with it and enjoy the pictures, touch them, bring them, study them in a completely different way. And this, of course, will only be able to be done through digital technologies because the places are extremely, extremely fragile. So you need to develop these things. Now, another example of what's happening in France. Today you have your application around Paris and you are walking around and you have it in your iPhone and you get to a building and you will be able to see the building in your iPad or in your iPhone as it was 100 years ago or when it was developed. So all your cultural heritage is going to be brought to the place where you want to consume it. And you are not going probably ever to go to the archives of a certain city, but if the archives come to you and they are put to your convenience in applications. When you're having lunch after seeing a certain monument, I'm sure you are going to really experience culture in a different way. So if you walk around Montmartre and you come across Le Boulin de la Galette, I mean, you have the painting of Renoir, that he painted that 100 years ago, or about more than 100 years ago. And you have that possibility of really experience culture on the spot when you are interested on it. Not later and not before, on the spot. And new applications, which of course, it is linked to geolocation, so when you are walking around, they will tell you where you are. So it's new ways of doing things. And this is History Pin. History Pin is a heritage point. History is Heritage 3.0. It's communities that mash cultural heritage with their own experience and enjoy culture in different regions of Europe. So it is really one of the projects we heard about Siena. You have here another one, and you will be able to enjoy that on your iPhone. Now, this is examples of what things can be done today with the digital technologies. Now, all this has an important economic impact. So this is just to tell you what is the growth of the European app economy, which is huge, and lots of them will be based on culture. So you are going to have lots of applications that are going to be on education. Our children will not study on books, they will study on tablets, and all that will be thanks to new applications that have to be created in the coming years. So the opportunities really of building new jobs and growth based on creative industries and culture are huge. Of course, we lack figures. And from the cultural point of view, it's always very difficult to monetize all these things. But the reality today is that there is a huge amount of growth in all this area. So when it comes about digital technologies, we put the question, how we can unlock the potential. And if you look at it from an angle of heritage, what are we working in the Commission in this area in order to unlock the potential? The first thing is about increasing the digitization. You can only mash and work with cultural heritage in digital form if you have digitized it. I mean, if it's in the archives, they will remain there for ages. So we have to increase that. Then we have been working also on the area of the regulations, and we have included now, I will come back to it, the cultural institutions in what we call the directive for the reuse of public sector information. So now we consider that digital collections are a public sector good that should be able, that anybody in the economy would be able to get access to it and be able to work with it, reuse it, and develop new applications under certain conditions and under payment, but it will be possible to do it. It becomes a public good. Then we are also supporting in the Commission the development of technologies that will allow all these things to happen. And we should not forget that we are developing a huge amount of digital assets, but we have to keep them. So don't consider that digital assets stay there forever. So there's a lot of work being done on research and on innovation on what we call digital preservation, that is keeping all our assets there for the future, and that all the efforts we put on these areas are not lost. So on digitization, we have a long-stay policy. Culture has been said many times is not a core business of the European communities, so we have to use soft instruments. But we have a Commission recommendation since certain years ago about recommending member states to digitize their cultural heritage and to share them with the community at large. So there you have problems of money, of course, who pays? Structural funds can pay. And structural funds have paid in certain number of countries, certainly in Lithuania. There are wonderful projects in Greece about archaeological sites that have been digitized with structural funds. There's projects in Slovakia, there's projects in the Czech Republic. So don't hesitate to use structural funds for digitizing your cultural heritage, because that has got a positive economic impetus. So our colleague in DG Regio told you about that. There are good examples about that. Now, how much has been digitized in Europe? Well, we didn't have studies, so we carried out studies ourselves. So we discussed with 2,000 cultural institutions, and those were the figures. So you could say that about 20% of collections have been digitized, much more on museums. They have much less objects, little in archives and in national libraries, because they have a huge amount of collections. So the job of digitizing our collections still is a huge one, and very important investment needs to be done, and it has to be done by the member states. The European communities can help with structural funds, but this is responsibility of the member states and the cultural institutions to promote. Then the PSI directive. Since June this year, cultural heritage in digital form, so all the collections of museums, national museums, archives, are goods that are subject to reuse. So anybody who wants to do something and create a new application, a new app, has the right to have access to these documents, and he has the right to reuse them. He has to create a license, perhaps, but this has become a real public good. So cultural objects in digital form become a common resource in which we can add value, and we can build on it, and we can reuse it and create economic activity. So all that, again, is about Heritage 3.0. Reuse is something about creating win-win teams. Cultural institutions are extremely good in culture, but they might not be that good in the digital economy. Application programmers have got the knowledge, and they can bring the added value for that. So you can have two win teams. Someone has got the goods in culture, in digital form, and application people come and bring them all these new experiences in which you can really have new opportunities to use it in your iPads, in your iPhones, when walking around, when study, for leisure, for tourism, and you can really enjoy and experience culture in a different way. Now, we have been developing in our programs for FP7 on research and innovation in the Future Horizon 2020, we have been developing technologies for digitization and virtualization. So we did projects about augmented reality. We have done projects about reconstructions of city, wonderful technologies that have been done for the cities of Florence and examples. So we have been developing technologies that allows you to do 3D scanning. And these technologies, they don't only remain for the cultural sector, they have wonderful opportunities on the creative industries. So if you go to do a scan of a sculpture in 3D, well, that same technology has been taken on by the fashion industry. And today there are shops in which you walk in, you are scanned, and after that, they start putting dresses on you and you start playing with this, and then with that, your new dress is produced. So you are not different from a sculpture. You can get your 3D scanned, and a new completely industry can really start becoming more competitive in a different way through new technologies. So all what we are doing for the cultural heritage sector comes across all what we are doing in the creative industries. So there's a lot of work that we are doing in developing these technologies. We have done a lot of work on digitization technologies. When we did on digitization of text, we did work on recognition of OCR, that means transforming text into Word document that you can search through them. And we have been working that with minority language, with German Gothic language. So all the research in this area has been core business for us for a long, long time. Today, issues around augmented reality, all these new technologies that really allow you to have these new experiences are part of our program. Then Europeana. Europeana is our European Digital Library. It started in 2007, and today it holds metadata of nearly 30 million objects in Europe. So we don't know how many cultural objects exist in Europe, but 30 million is a lot. It's a good bunch of our cultural heritage. So through Europeana, you can search trusted content across all Europe, and you can get access to really trusted sources of content. So you can have access about that. By the way, our American friends have launched some months ago the Digital Public Library of America, which is exactly based on the same models of Europeana. It has been done by the Harvard University and other universities in America, but it's the same model. It's about putting together our metadata so that we can search on it in a single place and we can work with it. But Europeana is more than having just access to information. It's a hub of data. So you can connect your machines to their API or application program interfaces. So your machine can work with the machine of Europeana, and you can start using all that metadata for different things. So now there are applications that if you want to search for information, they would look at information that you might have in your national hub of information, but also in Europeana in a single hit. Or you have applications that can allow you to look what exists in Europeana and what exists in the Digital Public Library of America. So you have applications that allows you really to look and have access to culture in a different way. And of course, creative industries and apps developers can go to Europeana, connect themselves to the hub, and start using all that information to develop an educational application. So they can have access to the documents, they have information on where the documents are, they have information about the rights of those documents, so they would know if they are in the public domain, or they can have to get a license from somewhere, but they have all the necessary information on which they can start building their application. 2,300 cultural institutions are behind Europeana, contributing to Europeana. That's a lot. They are not all of the European cultural heritage, but I think really it's a lot. So if by any chance you are not part of this, I think you are missing an opportunity, because you really, through Europeana, you can get together, and fragmented efforts in the internet become much more concentrated in a hub, and that hub can be really widely reused by those who want to make use of it in order to develop new applications and developing new experiences. And then we are also supporting technologies for the creative industry. So we are supporting new ways of producing games, tools for creativity, that we have been having lunch and talking about games and games, serious games, games for culture. Well, that's a huge development. I mean, the possibility of using cultural in certain games and for education, but also for leisure and the like is a good opportunity. So we are supporting in our programs also the development of tools that then many people can use in order to develop their own products and their own services. Now, digital preservation, I don't want to go without mentioning this. Digital collections are very fragile, including your photos. So if you don't do anything with your photos, one day they might not be there. So you have to be careful on that, and you have to manage that. And when you are talking about collections that were used and were accessed through specific software, 5 years later, all that has gone. So we have to start thinking, how are we going to preserve all that? So the national programs and the national libraries are all of them active on that. But we have huge challenges on the table. Today, who is preserving the web? What happened with digital collections or digital newspapers? I mean, digital deposit laws make sure that every book that is published is in the National Library, every newspaper that is published is in the National Library. But what happened today with digital newspapers? They are not being sent anywhere, so they are lost. And web archiving, it's lost. And if we want to look today how the world was today in 5 years' time, well, we will not have access to that information. And if you want to understand the Arab Revolution, I mean, you will need to know what happened in the Twitters and in the social networks to understand. So all these issues are really emerging issues that are completely unsolved. And we are talking here about the memory of our societies. So what's the memory of our societies today is digital. How are we challenging that? How are we going to capture that and make sure that historians will be able to look into that information in 10, 20, 100 years' time and understand what happened? So that's really a new challenge which is completely unsolved. We have been doing work on technologies that can help capture the web, but of course it brings lots of copyright issues. I mean, can I capture the web and then can I show it? No, it's under copyright, so 70 years until the death of the author. But all these things have to be really looked at, because if we do nothing, then we will not capture what's happening today, and certainly that would be lost, and we will know less of our societies than what we knew 40 years ago, in which by reading the newspapers, you knew what was going on. Today, it's only a fraction, and in 10 years' time, there will be even less press, paper press. So what are we going to do with that? A new avenue of work. I finished by telling you some funding in the future. So in Horizon 2020, research and innovation, we are going to be funding research on technologies for creative industries and developing new tools and developing anything that will allow all this sector to become more efficient and can allow to create growth and jobs. Under the societal challenges part of the Horizon 2020, we are going to be looking at what we call ecosystems of cultural heritage. So we are going to be looking at issues that can help valorize and exploit digital content, digital assets in a way that people can add value to it. So we are talking about the applications of cultural heritage to society, to education, to tourism, and to other areas. Basically, we would like to see lots of applications that really make use of our digital cultural resources in new, innovative ways. The Connecting European Facility, it's another of the programs. This is the one that is going to be funding Europeana in the future. It suffered a huge budget cuts when the member states adopted the financial framework. There is some money there, Europeana is placed there, so Europeana would be able to continue to be funded in the coming years. But we will have to reduce the effort that we were able to do in the last years around digital culture and about other programs. So that is the bad news. And then the Creative Europe that has been mentioned at length today, and structural funds that have been mentioned at all today. In the answer to your questions on Heritage 3.0, in the framework of projects that we have in Europeana, we have two projects. One Europeana World War I and one Europeana 1989. Europeana 1989 is about capturing the collections of the experiences of people when the Berlin Wall fell. And about 1 month ago, 2 months ago, there was an event in Poland inviting people to bring their memories to Europeana. So we are building a huge collection in order to gather all that heritage that we have along what we have been talking today. So that's what I wanted to talk to you. The digital technologies really is the ones that allow the Heritage 3.0. And we want to bring enjoy, experience, and really be active in culture. And at the same time, this will create new economic activity, will enhance cultural tourism, and will bring, of course, growth and jobs. So in the future, from the side of the digital agenda, we are going to continue underpinning all this sector through technology, in which I hope will be new ways, lots of fun, and really good ways in which we can learn together, enjoy culture together in ways that we have not experienced before. Thank you. I hope I managed to be in 20 minutes.